Welcome back to Let's Play Quantum Break. I'm BurningDogFace. And time is a hot mess in this place. Looks like Jack surrendering to Paul and some Monarch guys. I suppose I should say Serene, since subtitles, as I said, differentiate between Paul, a friend of ours who disappeared into the time machine, and Serene, the guy in charge of the Monarch Corporation.
It was overwhelming. Every unanswered question I had was compounded by what I'd seen at that workshop. The events at the university were part of something much bigger. Something that had started 17 years ago.
Something about the exaggerated swing of his elbows is what reminds me of Alan Wake when he moves like that. And the fact that his steps are just slightly too high.
Okay, dry dock. Get to the dry dock. I'm almost there. Gotta get to Paul.
From Charlie Wincott to Ground Zero up. All. Trespasser alert. Trespasser alert. Amy Ferrero is in the goddamn security station unsupervised. My understanding was that Amy Ferrero is supposed to be recording a series of false confessions for our PR campaign. Clearly that's not the case. How do I know she's unsupervised? Because A, she's in the goddamn security station, and B, she's digging through sensitive Monarch files and transferring them to a USB stick. No big deal. You just, all of Monarch's secrets. Radio alert is already in effect. Converge on her location immediately. Do not let that USB stick leave this operation. Oh, and remember Jack Joyce, the guy you were supposed to stop from turning our entire operation into a clusterfuck? Maybe get on that while we still have an operation left? Can you just act like this is your natural environment? Like a high school locker room, and he's the kid who can read a full sentence without moving his lips? Just fuck him up! Charlie. I find it interesting that, you look at the choice stuff in a lot of games, and it has an effect in the immediate future. Maybe not so much in the long term. But here, this is a very dense story, and it could go completely differently, depending on which choice you made. Like, keep in mind, everything that's happened since the Industrial Zone, Amy Ferrero could be dead. And this whole PR thing could be nothing. We could have been hearing on the radio this whole time about people protesting against Monarch. And I could be, running through this place on my own without having had Amy's assistance on the horn. Oh, it's an airlock. I thought that was an elevator. Wear lab coats, wash your hands on entry and exit, wear eye protection. No.
Enemy spotted!
Hello.
There was something wrong with Paul. Chronon syndrome. He'd had his powers much longer than me. What was the cause? Was I sick as well, or was it his time travel? I didn't know. It didn't make anything he'd done any less hateful.
From Dr. Sophia Amaral. Amaral, I keep doing that. Re Dr. Kim's lab and Serene's treatment. Okay, here we go. To Sophia from Fiona Miller. Subject Dr. Kim's lab and Serene's treatment. Dr. Amaral, would it be possible for me to gain access to Dr. Kim's lab in order to search for any files that might assist in our research? I'm concerned with the slow progress in developing a permanent cure for Paul Serene's Cronon syndrome. The treatments are only a temporary solution. I know that Dr. Kim was close to discovering a cure at the time of his death. I know that you use this lab to administer Paul Serene's treatment, but if I could borrow your keycard during the gala tonight, perhaps I can investigate this further while everybody is occupied with other matters. Fiona Miller. That was 5 in the morning. And this is 6:15. Fiona, I share your concern. Paul's treatments are becoming increasingly ineffective, and I hypothesize that the onset of the fracture will increase the Cronon syndrome's rate of progression exponentially. I've been trying to take a more calculated approach at finding a permanent cure for Paul's sickness, but Martin Hatch has shifted all the necessary resources into our tech division instead. I'm beginning to question his behavior. Every attempt I've made to discover a cure has been met with Martin's red tape. Just between us, I do start to wonder if Martin even wants Paul to be cured. I looked into Martin's past. He began work for Monarch in 2001, but I couldn't find any records about his past, or any aspect of his life before then. It's almost as if he just appeared out of nowhere. He was the only one present during the accident that claimed Dr. Kim's life. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I do wonder what his agenda truly is. Regarding your question, unfortunately there is nothing of value in Dr. Kim's lab, aside from Paul Serene's treatments and confidential files that would be of no use to your research. We'll have to find another way to develop a cure. Dr. Sophia Amaral, Head of Research. Interesting. Huh! Sudden Stop. The Sudden Stop, the final Alex Casey novel, by Alan Wake. This copy is signed by the author and dedicated to Emily Burke. Oh! Liam's wife. I did notice there was an Alan Wake novel next to the TV during the live-action episode. Kind of thought it was that one, but, you know. I'd just pick up. To Fiona Willer from Beth Wilder. 5:22 in the morning. Jack. Beth, they're saying that William and Jack Joyce have both been detained. Did you manage to get to William first? Did you reveal the location of the countermeasure? You said you could get Jack out of there. What happened? I guess Fiona's on our side, too. Interesting developments over here. With the team focused on the university op, I managed to dig through an old email correspondence between Paul Serene and Dr. Kim. The content of the messages is very cryptic, but before he died, Kim was running some kind of tests from his lab, and William's research and a device related to this were somehow connected to what he was doing. Did he know about the countermeasure? I think I need to get into Kim's lab and find out more, but that place has been on restricted access since he died. Not a lot of choice, though. If Jack and William are in custody, then that lab may be our only lead left. Okay, that's why she really wanted to get into the lab. Interesting. I'm just not sure how to do it. I sure as hell can't just ask somebody to let me in there. Fiona, William Joyce is dead. Our only shot at stopping this thing is Jack. He can lead us to the countermeasure. I still believe that. Serene got to Jack first at the university. Too much heat for me to intervene. He's being moved to Ground Zero. I'm following the convoy there and will rescue him once his transport is past security checkpoints. Not going to be easy, but it might be our only shot. Keep Charlie Wincott distracted so he's not looking over the security feeds. My cover won't last much longer. You need to be my eyes on the inside. I agree. You should check into Dr. Kim's lab and let me know what you find. I know gaining access will be difficult, but with a gala tonight you might have a window. Might be able to steal Dr. Amaral's keycard? I'll contact you once I'm on the other side. There's like a whole... Seems like there's a whole group of people working to prevent the apocalypse. Looks like they're just scanning heads with this thing. That's just a goon. So you probably shouldn't leave this tablet lying around with that kind of content on it, just saying. Okay, just making sure. Get me a source. Hell? What the hell is that? You know what it reminds me of?
What have we got here?
It reminds me of, this bit in Dead Space 2, where, you go through the, the elementary school in the space station. And, of course, it's full of children who've been turned into necromorphs, because, it is not a happy universe. And, you eventually come to a big stage where I guess the children have been putting on a play before they were all horribly murdered. And, you walk along, and one of the pieces of the set, like a big cartoon sun, drops down right in front of Isaac and scares the shit out of him. Where am I going? That way. Okay. Is there anything else of possible interest out here? Like, there's a railing up there. Can I go there? Why is there a giant propeller up there? What a strange place this is. I guess this is a docks. This might have been a shipyard at some point.
Yeah.
Jack, you have to understand that Will forced my hand.
What the hell happened to you?
There's no use fighting.
You killed him!
I'll explain when the time is right. You'll meet me tonight at the Monarch Gala.
Gala? Time's ending and you're having a fucking party.
Because when time ends, my plan...
We do this now. I'm not meeting you at...
Yes, you are. I've already seen it happen.
Seen what? What's this all for?
Goodbye, Jack.
No!
To Clarice Ogawa from Martin Hatch, October 8th, 9:47 a.m. Re Liam Burke status. Clarice, I understand why you consider Mr. Burke an asset to our future plans. Unfortunately, while he is an exceptional individual, he is less suitable for the kind of duties you have in mind than may be immediately obvious. I'll explain. Yes, he's been trained as a striker, but Mr. Burke was disqualified, and for good reason. The men we have chosen to be strikers have strict physical requirements, a certain moral flexibility, and the kind of killer instinct... Oops. Oh, that really flies when you use the D-pad. The kind of killer instinct you have to be born with, cultivated to a fine degree. A ferocious knack for survival. Mr. Burke certainly has these qualities. He wasn't disqualified from the striker program because he lacked them, or because he couldn't wrap his head around the technical aspects of operating the technology. In fact, his performance was exceptional, so I fully agree with you that he's an impressive operative. But strikers, by their very nature, have to be made aware of Project Lifeboat and its purpose, at least on a general level. And that means they have to be able to accept its implications. Unfortunately, Mr. Burke has a deep attachment to his wife, and the fact is that even if we brought Mr. Burke in, that wouldn't guarantee a spot for her in the program. To be blunt, we don't need any more nurses, and we're already at capacity overall. We need Mr. Burke, but we don't need his wife. Mr. Burke would never accept that, particularly now that Mrs. Burke is pregnant. Therefore, it's vital that he doesn't understand the nature and scope of the threat we face. As for having him play a role in... Oh, okay, there's more of this. As for having him play a role in other aspects of future developments, I suspect that despite his seemingly immoral nature, Mr. Burke may have other qualms he's not consciously aware of. If he ever truly has to make a choice between conflicting loyalties, he may take a stand on principle and elect to act against his own best interests. That's not a chance I'm willing to take. Yeah, this is the last one. So this is where it starts. Martin from Clarice, Liam Burke's status, October 7th, 8:01 p.m. Sir, I've been thinking about Liam Burke. I know you've worked closely with him for a while now, and he's been useful, but there are assignments we can't use him for because of his insufficient security clearance. For instance, having to keep him in the dark about much of what will happen in the university, about the stutters we're expecting, about where it'll lead, makes him a far less effective field operative than I'd prefer, and causes quite a bit of logistical difficulty, given that he's still going to be part of the operation. And frankly, it feels like wasted potential. I'd like you to consider the possibility of bringing Burke into the fold. He's completed most of the striker training, and even though he didn't finish the program, he made an impression on me as a tremendously capable asset. His service record is exemplary, and he has a well-earned reputation as somebody who gets things done, no questions asked. By the same token, I would love to include Burke in our long-term plans. We could use a man like him in our corner, and I could deploy him far more effectively. Let me know what you think. Qualms. Good word. And the response to the middle one. Sir, given the very recent events at the dry docks, I now see exactly what you mean. Clearly you were right about Burke's loyalties being more fickle than they appeared. Of course, we have plenty of unanswered questions about how it came to this. To begin with, I don't see why Burke could be involved with Joyce. There's no way he did it out of some kind of an altruistic urge. There has to be more to it. We know Burke didn't divert Joyce's transport, since whereabouts at that time are accounted for. There has to be somebody else involved, too. I'm looking into it. Look at this texture. Oh no, it got better, actually. Well, it'll be visible now. Just checking. Oh yeah, I guess this was a shipyard at some point. Not just a dockyard. Which is, of course, anything that's
There we go.
Sitting on the ground at the docks. I think I might go with maximum focus for the time dodge as my next upgrade, since I have to put more thought into it now. From Manuel Porretta to Martin Hatch, Liam Burke psych evaluation. Oh, there isn't a response in here. Martin, first of all, I have to again register my objection. What you are having me do under the guise of a psych evaluation is a blatant violation of Liam Burke's doctor-patient confidentiality, and the only reason I'm doing this is because you leave me no other choice. Now, I recognize that in the world to come, our current rules and legislation, even our standards of morality, may no longer be applicable, but we aren't there yet. You and Mr. Serene are placing the long-term mental well-being of hundreds of individuals in my hands. And I'm telling you right now, if they don't trust not only me, but the system that put all of us in our particular positions, there's no way we can recover from it. On to Burke. It is my considered professional opinion that the man is a bit of a powder keg. Sorry about that. For all his calm exterior, he's under tremendous pressure. I understand your reasoning for pulling him out of the Striker program, but what you have essentially done is instill in him a sense of encroaching doom. He doesn't know the specifics, obviously. He didn't make it far enough in the program to be briefed on that. But he knows that we're preparing for a future threat that is somehow related to the flow of time being interrupted, and that there are dangers out there, dangers that we have specifically been training the Striker units for. There are men who are content to merely follow orders and let others worry about the consequences. Burke is not one of them. He is willing to commit acts of violence without asking why, but don't mistake that lack of qualms for blind obedience. Burke needs agency. He has a fundamental need to feel in control of his life, and you have put him in a position where that's no longer possible for him. He's good at seeing patterns and drawing accurate conclusions from the facts available to him, and he has deduced, quite correctly, that he was being trained for a specific scenario that Monarch believes will happen. He is also painfully aware of the fact that if and when that scenario arrives, he will not be a part of the solution. He understands the nature of the Striker suits. They are only useful in a zero-state situation, and he understands that in such a situation, a man without a Striker suit is, essentially, dead. He doesn't know about the lifeboat protocol, obviously, but if he did, he'd then also know he's not a part of it. Either way, the bottom line is that he's in a hopeless situation. He fears that the end of the world is coming, and knows that if it does, the only way he could survive is with the technology Monarch has denied him access to. He doesn't understand the details, or even the exact nature of that end of the world, but that just makes it worse. Fear and lack of understanding breed tremendous anxiety, Mr. Hatch. He may not show it, but believe me, Burke feels it. For himself and for his family. It may interest you to know that his wife is pregnant. You can now understand how that adds to the pressure. To be honest, given the parameters we're operating under, I don't know how to resolve this. In Burke, you have a tremendously efficient operative, but you've put him in an impossible position. I believe he will remain effective as long as he doesn't have reason to believe the scenario he fears is imminent. But once he believes it has arrived, all bets are off. That is, unless you can give him hope of survival. But at this point, resentment and suspicion are starting to turn into paranoia. And frankly, I'm not sure he would trust either of us anymore. And speaking of trust, I recommend you think about what I said in my opening paragraph, Martin. Our greatest challenge, and greatest assets in the subjective years to come, won't be technological, but all too human. Don't make the mistake seeing people as just entries on a spreadsheet. Well, I feel like that went really well with the ominous droning noise in the background. Yeah, that one. Side effects of going into the green zone include strong headaches, dizziness or nausea, and loss of memory. That'll about do it for this session. I'm BurningDogFace, and I'll see you next time on Let's Play Quantum Break, when we proceed into the dockyards, and fail to have a final confrontation with Paul Serene, apparently. Later.